Comment next level in the comment section if this video resonates with you, all right? So I want to talk today about how you're about to open a spiritual door to that next level. And when you open a door, spiritually speaking, what this means is that you found a way out, or rather the way out found you. Now, in many cases, I think that ultimately the way out is going to find us more so than we're going to find the way out. This is how it happened with Christ for me. This is how it happened following Yahuwah, following God. So I was not necessarily looking for God himself, but the Most High found me. I was not the one that was finding something else. I was the one that was lost. And even though I knew my direction, I knew where I was going, I knew my destination, I didn't know how to get there. That was the biggest thing for me. I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to do it. There were so many things and so many peculiarities with this life that I just wasn't sure of just yet. And even to this day, I don't know everything, and my discernment is constantly being refined, and I'm going through the fire of refinement right now myself. And even though there's a lot of moving parts to what's going on right now, there's a lot of goodness happening as well. And as long as you're learning something new each day about yourself or about life in general, you're taking the life lessons that you've been handed, the cards that you've been handed in this life. Sometimes anybody that's played poker or blackjack or 21 or any kind of casino card game, you understand that there's certain kind of life lessons to be learned there. It's not just about gambling sometimes. It's about actually learning life rules about life. And so sometimes when we are doing certain things and we're striving for certain things, we're not always going to have the best hand. But sometimes if we're patient enough and we know how to make sure that we're moving accordingly, we're going to get to a point to where we can basically fake it until we make it, right? And that's how a lot of life is sometimes. But it's also about learning how to lean into anxiety and depression. And this is going to be kind of maybe a controversial take, but for any kind of addiction or any kind of depression or anxiety that you might be experiencing, I encourage you to lean into it. Feel it all. Feel it fully, because then it's not going to have a power over you. Because when you have depression and you put this ideal of what depression is inside your head, or you put this ideal of what anxiety is inside your head, all of a sudden you start to treat that as an idolization. I can talk, I promise. Idolization of what you perceive the reality to be before you. In fact, you put an illusion above you. And I don't necessarily even believe in depression and anxiety. And the reason that I don't believe in that anymore, and I don't think that anybody could actually have that unless they make themselves believe that they do, is because when you lean into the depression or you lean into the anxiety enough, what you're actually doing is you're leaning into the feelings that got you to that point. So when I was leaning into my depression in the past, what I realized was, there was things that were happening in my past that I still have not yet dealt with. And so it almost was as if my body retained that information of the past, but my mind and my spirit didn't quite yet deal with it yet. So my body at the physical fundamental level knew it, and it was there still. But it wasn't until I leaned into those feelings of depression that I was able to bring the past to the present. Same thing with anxiety, but it was just the opposite. It was more about the future when I was imagining the what if scenarios. Well, what if that, what if this, what if that? And it wasn't until I leaned into that enough to where I thought to myself, okay, what if I took this to the logical conclusion rather than trying to worry about it? Because obviously the anxiety is almost making it less clear, but that wasn't the case. In fact, I think any man specifically that has a little bit of anxiety is probably a bit more healthy than most. And the reason that I say that is because if you don't have a certain amount of not necessarily angst, but drive and ambition to get to where you know you need to get to, then you're not going to actually participate in the things that you know you need to do. You're not actually going to be doing the things that you know you need to do. And so when you have that kind of healthy amount of anxiety with you, you operate on a different level. This is where the spiritual doors start to open. This is where, if you open the right spiritual doors, there's going to be a lot of beautiful things that start to happen in your life. So what happens when you open these spiritual doors to the next level? Well, ultimately what happens is that you start to gain a certain sense of purpose. And everybody wants purpose, but a lot of people don't know what their purpose is, or how to even find a purpose or create one. And the thing is you're not going to find it, at least not in my experience. And out of the 200 people that I've done consultations with around the world, they haven't found it either. They've created it through time, and they might have found it, but when they look at it in hindsight, they're like, oh yeah, I was actually creating that. And I didn't really even realize I was creating that until it was created. And then I found it. This is why I say the way out finds us. We don't find the way out, okay? Because if you're in a situation right now, maybe it's like a job, maybe it's something with your family, maybe it's something with a relationship, a significant other, whatever it is that you're going through, and you're starting to have these doubts or these anxieties, or you're starting to get kind of depressed, you're walking away from these situations and you're feeling a little bit more down, like worn down than usual. You're lacking that vigor, that virility and spirit. Or for women, you're lacking that peace and that nurturing quality to you. You're acting a little bit more hasty and not in a very productive way. Then that's probably a sign that something's going on with whatever situation that you're going through. And the best antidote to that is to lean into the emotion. A lot of people, everybody in our freaking society wants to treat the symptoms. They want to get rid of all these symptoms. Oh, you have anxiety? You have depression? Oh, here's some antidepressant pills. And I'm not going to say that antidepressants don't work in general, because I've seen antidepressants work for some people because they just can't regulate their serotonin on their own. But what I think that is also a sign of their spiritual sense, like their spirituality, because the body, the mind, and the soul are all one, right? The body cannot really live without the soul, and the soul cannot really live without the body. And in order for the soul to really become lively, the body has to be fully turned on and fully awakened. But in order to have the body fully awakened, you have to give yourself permission to explore your soul. And until you do that, you're not really going to get to where you need to get to. I don't know how loud that was on the camera, but wow, that was loud in real life. So I don't know why people have those kinds of loud vehicles. I just don't get it. But anyway, that's just a side note. And that's also a spiritual thing too. You know, I was in the middle of cooking something nice. Anyway, the point is that you've got to lean into the emotion. And I think, I'm not saying that you need to just feel so pitiful for yourself or so anxious that you lose yourself. But what I'm saying is that you've got to allow yourself to feel these emotions and not be an adversary to these things. That's going to be the best antidote to depression or anxiety. And if you're struggling with any certain kind of sin, specifically like lust, because I know a lot of men on my channel have that challenge with lust. I don't necessarily want to say struggle, because I want to be mindful with the words that we use. You know, the story that we tell ourselves is going to be really important. But it's almost like when you're dealing with the world, okay, when you're dealing with the people, it can be really kind of a downer, because most people don't have a life. Most people have an insecure, awkward energy to them. And so it takes a lot to where you get to a point where you're actually finally able to attract people that are like-minded like you, that are positive, that are energetic, enthusiastic, and you're not faking it. You actually feel it. You actually feel it in your soul. You're not promiscuous. You're not trying to just go out and sleep with anything. You're not trying to be gluttonous. You're not trying to be wrathful. You're not trying to be greedy. You're not trying to participate in these sins. Do we fall short of the glory of God? Absolutely. But you're not willfully sinning. You're not willfully going and saying, I'm going to cheat on my husband, or I'm going to cheat on my wife, or I'm going to take this person's money, or I'm going to be covetous towards this person. Like, you're not acting like that. You're actually following the laws, statutes, and commandments that the Most High has given us. And when you do that, something really miraculous happens. It's almost like the universe starts to put you on a track that you're supposed to know. And through these life lessons that you're going through, even if you experience hardship, you are still leveling up with wisdom. It may not seem like it in the material world. And even me, myself, there have been times in the past where, especially the last 3 years since I really started to follow Yeshua, Jesus, since I started to follow him, there have been times where I've lost a lot. And I've been spiritually awakened for over 6 years now, but I only started to follow him 3 years ago nearly. And there have been times even then where I lost a lot of material stuff, and it felt like I was losing. But I actually wasn't. Like, what I was learning was something much more powerful. Like, the knowledge and the wisdom that I was being bestowed upon me by the Most High was something that was invaluable. And we have to remember that we're not here for the glory or the riches or anything like that. We're here for the maturation of our soul. And I've mentioned this in a video a couple weeks ago, and I want to reiterate that because I think that that's going to be the most important factor in understanding what's happening going forward. To really get at what's going on in your life, you have to allow yourself to be not necessarily like you don't own your body, right? You don't necessarily own your body. Now, you have a body, you have a soul, but it's more like it's a vehicle, it's a vessel, but you don't own the vessel. The Most High does. And so if you are going to be a servant for him, then you're going to have to give all that you've got for him. And really, the only unstoppable kinds of spirits that are going to level up, that are opening that next door, to the next level, the door to the next level, those are the unstoppable spirits that understand that nothing can really stand in their way if they're being truthful and they're abiding in the truth, because that's what Yeshua says. He says to abide in the truth. He doesn't say to just speak it, but we have to live it and to give ourselves to that higher purpose. That's where you find or create your purpose. So anyways, guys, I hope this message was useful and insightful, and I want to thank everybody that is moving from the YouTube platform over to the X and the Rumble platform. I do want to announce that the 7 Deadly Sins course that we have, registration for the Regal Change Academy, is going to be by the end of this week. And so if you want to get in, now is going to be the time. And we're going to be going over, it's going to be a 7-week period where we have one meeting every week going over each sin. And after we go through each sin, there's going to be readings from Dante's Inferno. There's going to be tasks correlated with each sin and how industries try to manipulate you into exploiting those sins so that you fall back into sin. Because these people do not want you to be operating on all cylinders, okay? They just don't. And the reason for that is because if you realize your power, if you realize your ability to go to the next level, you're going to be unstoppable, and they can't have that. They can't have you being unstoppable. They want to block your blessings. That's what they want. And so if you do want to join the Regal Change Academy in general, though, we have a free Discord that you can join. We're not going to be doing the 7 Deadly Sins course with that Discord, but with the paid community, that's where you'll be able to find it. And the link is in the description box below. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thanks again for your time. Y'all could have been doing whatever, whenever, and you guys have all been here with me on this beautiful day, overlooking this beautiful valley with the beautiful mountains. and I appreciate it. Appreciate the time. And with that being said, may the grace of the Lord be with you, and peace.